What if Mero asked you a simple question that would change the fate of your career? Heads or tails? Well, unfortunately, if you picked heads, you wouldn't be right, but for Cooper, he picked tails. And with this one decision, he won $1 million on the world's biggest stage. But how did they get there? And well, this is the entire story of Cooper and Mero and the coin flip that made history. Matthew Mero Fatel, born on September 18, 2004 in Canada, began his Fortnite competitive journey in 2019, where he would place 9,159th in the World Cup Week 6 qualifier. This is where Mero's love for competitive Fortnite truly began. He was just a normal kid who wanted to start placing highly because of the crazy amounts of cash Epic Games were throwing at competitors. But it wasn't going to be easy because there were tons of players that were already better than him, and he played on a significantly weaker input controller. This was proven at the World Cup when we saw less than 10% of the pros there were on controller. But that did not stop Mero. He began grinding very hard and creative and playing scrims in hopes to one day make it to the main stage and maybe even win it all like Bugha did at the Fortnite World Cup. Just 7 months later, he made his first official earnings in the solo cash cup, placing 58th and earning $200. This would be the start of the story of the world's best controller player. Just 3 days later in the Winter Royale, he earned another $400. And 1 month later, he earned another $250, placing 26th in the solo cash cup. Mero was an unknown controller player who was very good at fighting, and that made him exceptional at solos. On April 9th, 2020, he would go on to win the solo cash cup, bringing in $2,600. All the hard work he had put into the game, from his very first tournament to winning the solo cash cup, seemed to be paying off. It was clear Mero was good at cash cups and was becoming a great control player, but he never really did well in FNCS. After FNCS Duos in 2020, they announced the Solo FNCS Invitational. This was perfect for Mero as it would give him the chance to prove everyone that he was in fact good enough in major tournaments. But as I stated earlier, controller players weren't seen as real competitors in the competitive scene. That was until this chapter though. Aim assist was buffed significantly and we saw a lot more controller players get their chance, and one of them was Mero. So with the confidence gained from the controller buff, Mero began to play with more confidence and started grinding even harder. He would not disappoint, placing 11th in week 1 and 6th in week 2, qualifying him to the grand finals. This was Mero's chance to show up and win big in his first grand finals, but with his inexperience, he would go on to do poorly in grand finals. But for Mero, he had to look at the positive outcome. For one of his first FNCS grand finals, he took home $4,850, which wasn't too bad at all. And not to mention, people were accusing Mero of using a Chrono Sen for how good he was. Everyone was asking themselves, where did this kid come from? How is he so good? And would he be able to compete if aim assist got nerfed? But Mero did not care about the controversy and kept grinding because the next FNCS was going to be solos again. This time, he wanted to prove to everyone that he wasn't just good because of the controller buff, he was the real deal. With that grinding, he made every single FNCS weekly final, even placing second in one of them. But when it mattered most, he failed to make the grand finals. Although he earned over $3,500 from the solo FNCS, not making grand finals was seen as a failure. But there is one positive we can look back on, and I'm sure Mero will never forget about. August 12th, 2020, Deyy, Mero, and Reverse 2K became a trio that would be solidified with them placing second in the Trio Cash Cup. And with the FNCS game mode switching to trios, they were ready to dominate and try to place highly. They weren't seen as a good trio going into it and were more of underdogs. The region looked down upon them and wanted them to earn their spot as a top team rather than just give it to them. So they took to the elite scrims and played scrims every single day from 6 PM to sometimes as late as 12 AM. They were taking it super seriously and were ready to do what it took to become a top team. Well, they didn't just place high, they destroyed everyone. In the qualifiers, they placed 5th, 6th, 2nd, and in the heats placed 4th. And well, in Mero's second ever grand finals, he would go on to win it, earning $22,000. A true underdog story. At this time in his career, he was still just a random kid from Canada with little to no social media presence that no one knew anything about but wanted to know more. This sudden triumph would be the start of Mero's generational run. September 9th, 2020, Mero went on to get 6th in the solo DreamHack finals, which was a huge deal because the prize pool was massive. More importantly, it showed that even after his huge FNCS win, he still wanted to win every single tournament he played in. And also, if you look a little bit down the leaderboard, you will see another fierce competitor. Yeah, that was me. I qualified for it. Yeah, I'm good like that. I'm sure you guys didn't know about that, and let me know if you did in the comments down below. And while you're down there hitting that subscribe button, Mero was not going to stop his dominance. December 10th, 2020, Mero went on to win the DreamHack Online Duo tournament with Young Calculator, netting $7,500. That same season, he played with Deyy and Reverse 2K again for trios, and they got 4th in the grand finals, earning $20,000. Just 1 year before, Mero was a random kid, and now in just a few months, he was earning more than most teachers make in a year's salary. But for Mero, it was never about the money. It was about the legacy. And just a season later, the trio would go on to do the unthinkable. They would go on to win FNCS Grand Finals yet again with a breeze. It seemed to be too easy for them. At this point in Mero's career, he was already getting GOAT shouts, and for good reason. He was the MVP of the last 3 Grand Finals, leading in eliminations across the board. In Chapter 2 Season 7, the trio obviously stuck together, but failed to perform, placing 15th, which was a major disappointment and would lead to the trio disbanding. This was a setback in his career because now he was left with no teammates, and most tier 1 teams didn't even want to pick up a controller player. So Mero answered in Mero fashion by winning another duo DreamHack with Rise. This single tournament, backed by his FNCS proven performances, sparked the eyes of one man who might have inspired his journey to start grinding competitive Fortnite in the first place. From watching the World Cup in 2019 and seeing a 16-year-old Bugha lift the World Cup, Mero began his journey, but now he had the opportunity to play alongside Bugha. They would end up playing together and then end up picking up Muzz, who was a really underrated player at the time who had just moved from OCE. Everyone was excited about how they would place because, I mean, they were a fan favorite, but being a fan favorite wasn't going to be enough to win you an FNCS. So they began putting in the work to trying to build chemistry as fast as possible before the FNCS Grand Finals, and well, it paid off. They would end up dominating the whole FNCS and would go on to win the entire thing. But before the chapter ended, there was an even bigger tournament, and that was the FNCS Grand Royale. It was basically a glorified FNCS Grand Finals with a higher prize pool. Going into it, everyone thought Bugha, Mero, and Muzz would dominate yet again, but they didn't. Well, at least Muzz didn't, because Bugha and Mero ended up snaking Muzz for Dukes, who had won the Chapter 2 Season 7 FNCS a few months prior. But why would they change teammates after just winning FNCS? Well, that answer doesn't matter, because they ran through everyone and won the FNCS Grand Royale, winning back-to-back FNCSs and making Mero a 4-time FNCS champ. And if you scroll down the leaderboard just a bit, honestly, just a bit, not too much, yeah, that's me. He outplaced me once again. Honestly, he got a little lucky there. I wasn't trying that hard. Okay, maybe honestly I have to admit he might be good, but he's gonna fall off soon and I'm gonna become an FNCS champ. But his reign didn't end there, and he didn't fall off. Chapter 3 Season 1 was duos, and Bugha and Mero teamed up to try to make it a 3-peat, and well, they did it. They went back to back to back and shocked everyone. A 3-peat on NA East was unimaginable, and they had just done it. Then, to close out Chapter 3, they got 3rd in Season 2 and 2nd in Season 3, just missing out by 1 point. But in the Season 3 Grand Finals, there was an up-and-comer in the lobby that we're going to get to later in the video. After Mero and Bugha's dominance, they qualified for the FNCS Global Invitational in 2022, and with the pressure on their shoulders to do good, they would end up not placing high on the main stage. This caused Mero and Bugha to split, and Mero really took this bad LAN performance to heart. He wanted to lift a global championship like Bugha did back in 2019, and it was one of the main reasons why he's been grinding so hard from the start. Then, with the loss of his motivation after some more disappointing performances, Mero would go on to announce his retirement on March 29th, 2023. That would be until an idea floated through Mero's head that he wouldn't regret. But before we get to that, we have to introduce our story's second main character. Remember that guy I talked about that made his first grand finals when Mero got second and missed out by just 1 point? That was Cooper Smith. Born on January 7th, 2007 in Texas, Cooper was always a high ping player. Since Texas was so far away from NAE servers, he would end up being around 45 ping, which was a massive disadvantage when trying to go pro. Now, even with that high ping, Cooper bursted onto the scene, winning the Solo West Cash Cup on October 17th, 2021. Cooper was a good fighter and was great at solos like Mero was, but never really performed consistently enough to get picked up by a tier 1 trio. And throughout Chapter 2, he would place in a ton of solo cash cups. When Chapter 3 came, it was the same thing. He would place in solos and do mediocre in FNCSs. That was until Chapter 3 Season 3, where good guy Nani would see the potential in Cooper and pick him up for duos. Nani had over 5 times Cooper's earnings and was an established IGL in the region who a few months ago placed 5th in FNCS. This would be pivotal in Cooper's career because come FNCS, they would see themselves in a position to qualify for the grand finals after spending the whole season grinding with their coach captor. In the heats, all they had to do was win a game or place consistently throughout the sessions, and well, this happened. And after this, I actually caught an interview with them back in the day to see how confident they were going into grands. How well do you guys think you guys would do?
Bottom 5. Maybe bottom 10.
Bottom 10?
On a good day.
Okay.
On a good day.
They predicted to not do well, and well, they didn't, placing 30th, but still earning $3,000, which was more earnings than Cooper had in total at the time. The season after that was Elite Cups, while the Global Championship was being held in Raleigh. With no FNCS, Cooper earned a few times, but kept on grinding because this was the time to make improvements on his gameplay, and he knew that. Chapter 4, Season 1, Cooper got dropped by Nani after making his first ever grand finals with him. He later picked up one of my good friends, Seek, and this is what happened.
Like, we qualified finals, but week 2 my internet went out, or my power went out, because there was like a huge ice storm outside. And like, that's basically why we didn't call grands, because it was top 40 on consistency qual grands.
They wouldn't go on to make grand finals this season, but for the next season, the servers were now on NA Central, so Cooper was officially 0 ping, a huge advantage for him. This is where his career would take off. Cooper and Seek were grinding scrims every single day until something crazy happened a few weeks out before FNCS.
He DM'd in. He told me that he's gonna play with Rokane, because like at the time Cooper was IGLing and he just turned 0 ping, so I guess he wanted to frag. So he wanted to find an IGL, and also Rokane was on con and he was pretty good at the time. And actually Rokane like lied to him too, because Rokane said he was gonna move to 0 ping, because this is when Central servers first came, and Rokane lived in Canada, I think. And he said he's gonna move to 0 ping, so that was also a reason. But yeah, so he played with Rokane, did decent with Rokane, and after that, I guess Mero like thought he was good.
Now, Mero came to Cooper and said heads or tails, in which he answered tails. A short question with a simple answer, but a huge outcome. While Mero announced his retirement the season prior, he gave Cooper and Crisp the chance to play with him. Cooper and Crisp were both criminally underrated. They both placed, but not super high, and both had great potential.
I remember week 1 of the FNCS we played together, the Hammer season, bro. I got carried so hard. I didn't even glaze at all, but like I'm not gonna lie, I got carried really hard.
Now, Mero knew whoever won the coin flip he would be happy playing with, but what he didn't know is what was about to happen in the next year of his life. April 13th, 2023, the FNCS began, and it was official. Cooper and Mero would be running up the FNCS together. Cooper was always a fragger, but since he was now playing with Mero, he decided he would learn how to IGL. But it wasn't going to be easy, because how could you lead a 5-time FNCS champ when you don't even have more than 5,000 earnings? Cooper was determined to take this chance and run with it, because it's not every day you get to play with a duo like Mero. He hit the VODs and worked hard with his coach to ensure that they were good come FNCS. And they weren't just good, they were great together. They got 7th in the week 1 finals, 32nd in week 2, and 13th in week 3. This was by far enough to qualify them for the grand finals a few weeks later. In preparation for the grand finals, they got 4th in the duo cash cup, and Cooper earned twice in solos. They were going to go into the grand finals on a high and were ready to show the world what they were made of. May 13th, 2023 came, and it was time for the grand finals, and well, let's break it down. Game 2, they got a 3rd place with 4 elims after a Mero clutch. Game 4, they got got 5th with 1 elimination after a Cooper solo clutch. Game 6, they went on to win the game.
He's on me. He's above me. He's on me. He's jumping on you. Jumping on you.
After day 1, they ended in 5th place, just 2 spots shy of making the global championship. They knew in day 2 they needed to do just as good, if not better, if they wanted to get top 3. Game 7, Mero solo clutches a 7th place. Game 8, they go on to go down in 11th place. Game 9, they got 6th after yet another Mero solo clutch.
Down below, Mero just trying to do what he can, but he gets taken down by threats. Oh.
Game 10, they got 4th place with 6 huge eliminations after a Cooper masterclass.
Of opening to go ahead and work through is Duke, Edgy. I believe they both.
And after 10 games, it was all talk about Mero and Cooper and how they could actually go on to win the whole thing as they sat in second.
Cooper for kind of keeping them in that race because this was a solo clutch. We saw last game, Mero was the one putting up the solo impact points. Showing off.
Game 11, they would get their worst placement of the day, going down in 18th. In the last game, it was all up for grabs to see if Cooper and Mero could pull it out and win the whole thing, but Cooper would be left as a solo. And well, their hopes and dreams were crushed when Edgy made this FNCS winning play.
The FNCS champion, but Edgy's still here as well. There's so many of these players are solos. Edgy, solo, Cold, solo, and he finds it. Oh, it's
Even though Cooper and Mero didn't win, they qualified for the global championship in Copenhagen and took home $95,000, which pretty much 20x'd Cooper's earnings before playing with Mero. And this was only the start of what was to come for this duo, but they cut the celebrations early as they needed to get back to work because they still had another major to play in. June 9th, 2023 came and it was a new season. If I'm gonna be honest, this season was trash and it had mammoth pistols, mud scattered around the map, and I hated it, so I'm gonna skip this. After getting second in Cooper's second ever grand finals, it was time for another shot at gold, but after a strong day 1 performance and a disappointing day 2, they would only place 9th. Now, 9th is good, but for a team like Mero and Cooper, it was quite underwhelming. They knew they had to make up for it and go big come the FNCS Global LAN, as that's all that mattered. They packed their bags and flew to Copenhagen, Denmark to play on October 13th to 15th. First day was called the upper bracket. Basically, it consisted of all the teams that qualified through FNCS. If you got top 25 in day 1, you made the final day to compete for $4 million. If you didn't, you got dropped down to day 2. Day 2 was the lower bracket, and it was a mixture of the bottom 25 teams who failed to qualify out of the upper bracket on day number 1, and 25 more teams who came from the last chance major. Once again, needing top 25 to make grand finals, that was just a day later. The upper bracket began and was a chance for Cooper and Mero to qualify early. With an uncontested drop spot in Rumble Ruins, which honestly was terrible, they wanted to go ahead and qualify early so they could take their foot off the gas and relax for the next day. But things did not go to plan. Take a look at these names. You see Acorn and Cold, you see Vino and Queasy, but what you don't see is Cooper and Mero. This was a major setback, and Cooper and Mero went back to the hotel rooms devastated, with one thought going through their heads: would all their hard work go to waste? But after feeling down for a little while, they still had a chance the next day. Day 2 came and it was time for a new lobby with new players, which meant a fresh start. Cooper and Mero cleared their minds of the failure from day 1, and this time they went on to get 17th, which was enough to bring them to the grand finals of the LAN. Now, there is one goal on Mero's mind, and it was to lift the trophy just like Bugha did in 2019 alongside Cooper. The next day came and it was time for these 6 games that would change the course of Fortnite history forever.
Copenhagen. And now just 50 remain in the running to lift the trophy, to own the Axe of Champions and call themselves the best Fortnite players in the world. Copenhagen, are you ready to see history made?
Game 1, they went on to drop a statement game and they placed second.
He needs to put some respect on his name. Mero running out of builds. That's his last chance. He falls all the way down.
Game 2, Cooper and Mero secure low ground and get another second place.
Solo endgame. Cheating, trying to join Polo and Sphinx as a team with multiple wins this weekend. Back-to-back shots. He's already been able to get one. Mero out for redemption in that last game, but he has no materials. Zone is taking him out until the final.
Game 3, Cooper shows up when it mattered most and solo clutches a
First
5th
team
place.
to try to get 3 VRs on the day. They already have 5 eliminations, more mats than they know what to do with.
Oh my God!
Another elimination.
At the halfway break of the tournament, they would be running away with it if Pixie and Cheatin didn't win back-to-back games. But with a 6-point lead and over an 80-point lead over third, all they had to do was close out the day with a few consistent games and they were guaranteed top 2. Game 4, Pixie and Cheatin go down in the early game and Mero and Cooper secure a respective 12th place to give themselves space to breathe over 2nd place.
At least for the time being, Cooper though, completely out of the ultimate scene, but that's the knock that they needed.
Game 5, Pixie and Cheatin go down and once again it was time for Cooper and Mero to extend the lead further with a 14th place.
Oh, on fire here. Cooper now by himself, trapped in the storm, and he falls inside the top 15.
With over a 70-point lead onto 2nd place, they just needed to stay alive to secure the FNCS Global Championship. With that being said, let Levin take it away.
The final game is here. It is time to crown some champions for Arena. Are you ready?
Pixie and Cheatin go down early.
Again at this point, no rocket ram or anything in sight. He's just got to keep going. Vito's
But Mero and Cooper were shambles and needed to make a play, but also go down early.
on the side here. He has no more builds. He needs this refresh. If not, it's over. And down he goes.
Now this was shaping up for an emphatic finish to the tournament. With over a 100-point lead over the teams that could possibly pass them, people thought the tournament was done and dusted until cameras panned to Cammy and Seti, who were ready to cause a huge upset.
Here, other teams in the mid-ground. But it's going to be Flixie first. Flixie nearly putting an end to the Polish run, but instead, Cammy Seti turning around 180, no problem.
But that wasn't going to be enough, and Cooper and Mero were named FNCS Global Champions.
Through. It's now a one-on-one and 2 left. Wins the game with 9 elims. You're going to love it, but your global champions are here.
Mero and Cooper from day one.
Who would have thought it would have been $1 million coin flip? Congratulations, Mero. Congratulations, Cooper. You are our 2023 global champions. Lift that trophy. How amazing it must feel. How great to be the global champions. Mero and Cooper, you have done it.
This would make Mero a 6-time FNCS winner.
I came into here, I was thinking, like, after last Invitational, I did bad, I was down. Like, I felt so down, but then I realized, I'm like, I got not 1, but 2, but 3, but 4, but 5 FNCS wins, make it 6 now.
And well, for Cooper, it has completely changed his life, as it allowed him to completely do online school to focus on his career, and now streams to hundreds, if not thousands of viewers on Twitch. But the story didn't end here, and well, it didn't end on a high. December 3rd, 2023, Chapter 5 Season 1 was released, and Cooper and Mero were going to go into the FNCS as global champions. They were clear favorites to top 3 or even win the whole thing. The global champions wanted to win the FNCS to make it back-to-back. They went on to qualify for the grand finals easily, and everything was looking good. In fact, they went on to get second in the day number 1 of grand finals, and it was looking like it was going to happen once again. But on day number 2, they would fall off massively. On day 2, it was a 1.5 time multiplier on the points, so to win FNCS, you had to show up big on both days. But they didn't even get top 30 in day 2. This dropped them all the way down to 9th place, and this would be the end of the Cooper and Mero era. An era that saw a random kid who got lucky with the server switching take over the competitive scene and get picked up by the GOAT of Fortnite. Mero gave a chance to Cooper when no other tier 1 pro wanted to. And after they split, Cooper went on to play with Kanata and got 3rd in the FNCS, punching his ticket to the Global Championship in Fort Worth, Texas at the end of the year. As for Mero, he and Dukes didn't perform in Season 2, and in Season 3 he would play with Pink, who moved from Europe, but Pink and Mero didn't go on to qualify for the Global Championship. So we won't be seeing Mero on the main stage, and I think it might be one of the last times we see Mero compete at the level we know he can, as it seems he's slowly losing motivation. No one knows what's next for Mero's career except for him. He might retire, or he might flip a coin for one last time. If you enjoyed this long video, be sure to check out the story about the kid who completed Fortnite at just 16 years old. And with that being said, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this one.